Are you feeling a loss since you became disabled or handicapped? Are your mobility issues causing you grief? Are you struggling to find joy while you're experiencing chronic pain? I totally understand where you're coming from. In 2015, I had a full hip replacement surgery. 1 month later, I lost my mom. Then I herniated 3 discs. I found out I had skin cancer. I tore my meniscus in my left knee. I had bone spurs in both my shoulders. And actually, there's so much more I can't even begin to tell you. But the main thing is, all this happened to me within a 9-month period. And honestly, this truly was just the tip of the iceberg for the following 3 years. And now I deal with chronic pain and mobility issues. My happiness, it was gone. I felt depressed no matter what good stuff happened in my life. I really didn't feel any joy at all. The despair that I was experiencing led me to crying myself to sleep every night and even waking up crying on a daily basis. And that was for over 2 years. There were many times I wanted to and actually highly considered suicide. I felt as if this was my fault, all of it, whatever was happening to me. I was deserving of this, that I did something in my life. I felt like I had left my mom down, and I actually felt that her death was a result of me letting her down. I felt that I was letting everyone around me down, and I felt like I had become a burden. I'm sure if you're watching this, you can probably relate. If you can, do me a favor, type relate in the comments. Let me know what your experiences were. So, how can you get joy while you are going through something like this? Well, first off, we have to acknowledge our pain and know and be willing to grieve and mourn what we have lost. Because if we're going through this, we've lost a lot. And you may say to me, I'm grieving. I am. But I'm going to ask you a really serious question from one person who has been there to another. Are you grieving? Or are you dwelling in self-pity? Because there really, truly is a difference. Now, before you go throwing stones at me for asking that question, let me explain the difference between self-pity and grief to you. And let's see if your answer is still the same. So with self-pity, we stay focused on dwelling in our sorrows. We can't see past it. For some, we even may make sure that everyone around us knows we are sad, either through our actions, our verbiage, or maybe that look on our face. Think you're stereotypical 14 or 15-year-old, okay? I'm sure some of you know about that. So remember I told you that I woke up and went to bed crying daily? This was me living in my self-pity. I was in so much physical pain. I was in so much mental pain and had lost the ability to walk and move by myself. I needed help. I had lost the ability to be a mom. I had lost the ability to be a daughter, a friend, or even a wife. And I couldn't see past it. However, in contrast to self-pity, grief and sadness are normal. And it can be a healthy emotion. And we all should and do have it. The feelings of grief tends to be, a helpful emotion. Allowing yourself to grieve can help you heal your emotional damage. Grieving actually feels the pain, feels the physical or mental or both. And then you have the willingness to work through it by either talking or praying or journaling or seeking professional help or whatever. So can you see the difference between grief and self-pity? Now, you can answer that question truthfully to yourself. When we grieve and we start to work through the grief, we have to make sure that we are not working through it superficially. Sure, I lost the ability to hike, to walk, to be an active mom, to whatever. But grief was much more than that. While I was working through it, I realized that a huge part of my grief came from the loss of my mom. I came home from recovery, and 3 days later, she died. I blamed myself for not being there for her while she was in the hospital. I blamed myself for selfishly getting surgery instead of waiting until she was out of the hospital. I blamed myself for her death. Now, once I worked through this, wow, I was so much more willing to work on the physical loss aspect of all my losses and work towards finding joy in the midst of physical and emotional pain. Staying in the mode of self-pity keeps you in a cycle of bad feelings, negative thoughts, complaining, feeling it's not fair, and self-loathing. It can also keep you engaged in negative activities such as not exercising, cutting your body, overeating, or on the opposite end of that, starvation, sleeping all day or not sleeping, or cutting yourself off from the people around you who love you, or your favorite activities, or altogether quitting your job. So many of us, whether we are physically capable or you're big bone and broken, never truly are willing to work through this huge crater of pain and why we feel this sadness. And we end up staying in this self-pity party. We have to be courageous and excited to move away from this and into a state of joy, even in the midst of our pain and suffering. When we stay in self-pity, this is when we find ourselves becoming a new person, having a whole new personality. So what do I mean by that? Well, okay, so think about this. As we continue to live in a pity party and sorrow, and are unwilling to even try to heal and work towards joy, this is where you find yourself angry. You might even be mentally and physically exhausted. Well, this anger and mental exhaustion causes us to change our personality, and unfortunately not for the better. When we stay in the mode of feeling sorry for ourselves and putting that label of I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and telling ourselves that all the stuff in our lives is so bad, this changes us mentally and physically. Let me ask you a very important question. In your whole entire life, have you ever said to yourself, I love being around that angry person? Or maybe you've said, that lady who complains all the time, well, she's such a great conversationalist. Or maybe you said something like, oh, how about that girl who always looks so sad? She's so much fun to be with. I doubt that. I can actually, with pretty good certainty, say you probably have not, and you probably really don't enjoy being around those types of people. And I do want to tell you right here as a disclaimer, I'm in no way saying that you can never talk to your friends about any of your problems or your ordeals. Absolutely not. We need that help from our friends and family. But when we monopolize every gathering, when people are starting to pull away from you, when their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh my gosh, I've heard this story 20 times in the last week. This is called a self-pity party. So, what's the plan, Sam? Well, you need to stop. Stop wallowing in your very unhealthy emotions, your thoughts, and even your actions. Start exercising. I know. All my videos have like something about exercising, but look it. Take a walk, clean the house, get an exercise tape, do some yoga, dance, walk around your house. Do some leg lifts from the couch or some arm lifts if you can't move your legs. Whatever you do, just get off your butt, out of bed, off the couch and move. It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be some sort of movement. Here's why I always say exercise. Exercise is known to improve your mood. It eliminates stress and anxiety. And guess what? It ends up giving you more energy in the long run. So get on up. All right, what's another way? Well, you can find some gratitude. Take a look around you. Do you have maybe family who loves you, friends who are helping you, co-workers who adore you, doctors and nurses who are there for you? Do you have a home, a car, a phone? Obviously, you have internet connection if you're watching this. You have food on the table, money in the bank. Do you have a job, a yard, a dog, fresh air, clean water? I know. These are just a few among some of the more simple things to be grateful for. Finding the joy that is already present in your life, no matter how small, is so important. The more you practice this kind of gratitude, the more you will find bigger things to be thankful for in your life. And when you start finding those thankful things, man, things get so much better. All right, let's take a look at maybe religion. Now, do not stop the video here, please. Hear me out. More than 30% of the United States adults who say that they pray daily and attend church at least once a week say that they're happier than they were before joining their religious organization. This is according to Pew Research Center. And CNN says that 9 out of 10 Americans rely on prayer at some time in their lives. And Live Science says religious people, tend to be more satisfied than non-religious people. Actually, about 38% of people who attend religious services weekly were extremely satisfied with their lives, compared to 18.6% of the people who never attended a service. So, prayer and being involved in your church, your religion, can help bring you a bit more happiness and joy as well. Maybe it's time to dust off the Bible, get out the prayer beads, or if it's been a while since you've attended some sort of religious or church service, now's the time to maybe start going again. At least try it a couple times. You never know. You might get more joy. Lastly, I want you to consider paying it forward. Being kind and helpful to others around you may not seem plausible when you're dealing with a huge amount of chronic pain, or you have disabilities, or you have mobility issues, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and clean someone's house for them. It could be praying for them, calling them daily to talk through their problems. How about sending them a meal on wheels? How about rubbing your kid or your spouse's feet? Ooh, no, not the feet. Sending them some flowers, maybe babysitting their child. How about taking them out to lunch? This is one of my favorites. Buy an unexpected gift or a cup of coffee and just put it on their doorstep. Or we can take it outside of people we know. How about give a stranger a helping hand? Or compliment a stranger and brighten their day. I had that happen to me just the other day from two 16-year-olds in the mall. who came up to me, who literally were walking away with their parent, and who came up to me to say, I really loved your makeup and your hair. Who knew? It brightened my day so much. It doesn't have to be huge, and it certainly doesn't have to be expensive. Just something to help bring a person around you, whether you know them or not, a bit more joy in their day. Can I just tell you, when you and I start giving back and doing random acts of kindness, you start praying, attending some sort of a religious or a spiritual gathering, you add in some sort of movement every day, it can change you beyond measure. I know this firsthand. Your self-pity, your grief, your sadness, depression, mental exhaustion, it can turn around and become joy in the midst of all this pain and suffering you're going through. Please let me make sure you understand that you're going to find days where you will be very sad. You're going to have days where you're going to cry. You're going to be in a lot more pain than the day before. And it might be want to sleep all day. You're going to have days where you're down and angry and grumpy. But these days are going to come, and then they're going to go within a day or so. And you'll begin to find more joy in life. It gets easier and easier to deal with all the downs that will come every now and then when you start putting forth the things that I'm teaching you in this video. As a matter of fact, the last couple days have been a very big downer for me. Actually, 3 days. I've actually cried a few times, and because honestly, for whatever reason, my physical pain level has gone up quite a bit, and that's a whole nother talk of why I think it's there, but whatever. It could be weather, food, and honestly, I believe it's just the progression of my injuries, but who knows? That's not the point. The point is over these last 3 days, I still did my yoga. I went through for a hike. I recorded this video currently right now because I wanted to pay it forward. I talked to a friend in need on the phone for over an hour. I did my Bible study and prayed every day. And every night before I went to bed, I found at least one thing to be joyful for, and I wrote it down. And I'm not sitting in self-pity by allowing me to grieve through pain. I am moving forward. I'm still in pain. As a matter of fact, as I'm sitting here right now, I have 2 pillows behind my back because it hurts so bad. But instead of living in that pity, I'm allowing myself to grieve it and then moving forward. I know it sounds so easy. These steps I outline for you really are. They're so simple. You can, yet it is hard. When you're deep in grief and you're in pity, it really is hard. I'm making it sound so easy. But this week, I want you to do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Take just one of the ideas and start working towards finding joy. Tell me in the comments which one you're going to start with. Then next week, I want you to take another one of those steps. And then the following week, and so on. Listen, I know it's not easy to find joy in pain. I've been there, and I'm still going through it today. I'm right there with you. Listen, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Go out and live a more joyful, happier life, all in the midst of grief and pain. I've done it, and I know you can do it. I'm Kristen Nitz with Big Boned and Broken. Please hit the subscribe, the like, and the notification button. But until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay wise.